The screen door slammed behind Scarlett like a gunshot in the sticky Tennessee summer night. Her mother's voice cracking through the humid air. "You think you can just waltz in here and tear this family apart with your filth? Get out, Scarlett. And don't come back until you remember who you are." Scarlett's backpack hit the gravel driveway first, spilling her journals and that one photo of her and Sienna laughing under the campus oak tree. The image blurring as hot tears hit the glossy surface. She stood there frozen. The cicadas screaming in the oaks like they knew her world was splintering. 18 years old. Fresh out of high school in this godforsaken Nashville suburb. And all she'd done was kiss Sienna goodnight on the porch swing after their first real date. Sienna's hand in hers felt like the only solid thing left. But now even that was slipping as her mother's silhouette filled the doorway. Arms crossed over her chest like a fortress wall. Scarlett's heart pounded a wild rhythm, each beat whispering the truth she'd hidden for months. "I love her, Mom. She's not filth. She's everything." But the words caught in her throat, choked by the betrayal etching lines into her mother's face. The woman had raised her alone after Dad walked out when Scarlett was 5. Evelyn's eyes, once soft with bedtime stories about brave girls in faraway lands, now burned with a righteousness Scarlett couldn't comprehend. The Bible study group had whispered. The neighbors had nodded knowingly when Evelyn mentioned her daughter's new friend from the community college orientation. And tonight, catching them tangled in that innocent goodbye, it all erupted. Evelyn's voice dropped low, laced with that southern steel. "You're choosing sin over blood. Girl. Pack your lies and go." Scarlett wiped her face with the back of her hand, tasting salt and regret. The backpack zipped shut with trembling fingers, and she slung it over her shoulder, the weight pulling at her like an anchor. Sienna waited in her beat-up Honda at the curb, headlights dimmed, her silhouette hunched over the wheel as if bracing for impact. Scarlett's sneakers crunched over the driveway, each step a severance, the porch light casting long shadows that swallowed her mother's form whole. She slid into the passenger seat, the door clicking shut softer than a whisper. Sienna's hand found hers immediately, warm and steady despite the shake in her voice. "Baby. What happened?" Scarlett leaned her head back against the worn upholstery, staring at the dashboard glow. "She kicked me out. Just like that. For us." The car idled, engine humming low, while Sienna processed, her thumb tracing circles on Scarlett's knuckles. They drove in silence toward the city lights, Nashville unfolding like a reluctant lover. Neon signs flickering promises of escape in honky-tonk bars and late-night diners. By dawn, they'd crashed at Sienna's cramped apartment above a laundromat on Broadway, the spin cycles below rumbling like distant thunder. Scarlett curled into the futon, Sienna's arms a fragile cage around her, both of them too wired to sleep. "What now? See?" she murmured into the dark, her voice muffled against Sienna's collarbone. Sienna kissed her temple, breath warm and minty from the gum she'd chewed to steady her nerves. "We figure it out. Together. That's what love is. Right? Not some fairy tale. Real. Messy. Ours." Weeks blurred into a haze of community college classes and double shifts at the coffee shop where Scarlett slung lattes to tourists who tipped in crumpled bills. Sienna, a year ahead in her English Lit program, buried herself in dog-eared copies of Audre Lorde and Virginia Woolf, highlighting passages about loving fiercely in the face of erasure. They shared everything: ramen noodles spiked with hot sauce, stolen kisses in the library stacks, dreams whispered under threadbare sheets. Scarlett's phone stayed silent from home, Evelyn's number blocked after one voicemail that Scarlett deleted without listening. The pain too raw to touch. One rainy afternoon in October, as leaves turned the Cumberland River banks to fire, Scarlett came home to find Sienna at the tiny kitchen table. A stack of acceptance letters fanned out like a winning hand. Vanderbilt offered her a full ride for grad school, but it meant moving to the city proper, leaving the laundromat life behind. Scarlett's stomach twisted, joy warring with the fear of more goodbyes. "You deserve this," she said, forcing a smile as she stirred instant coffee. Sienna's eyes searched hers. Dark and knowing. Only if you come with me. Build something bigger than this shoebox. They did. By spring, Scarlett had scraped together enough for her own enrollment. Waitressing nights at a Vanderbilt haunt called the Bluebird Café, where songwriters strummed heartbreak anthems that mirrored her own. Their new place was a third-floor walk-up in East Nashville. Walls papered in vintage concert posters. The air thick with the scent of jasmine from the fire escape. Love bloomed there. Tentative at first. Then fierce. Like kudzu claiming an abandoned lot. Sienna's laughter filled the rooms. Her braids swinging as she danced Scarlett around the kitchen to Aretha Franklin records. Scarlett found solace in poetry slams at local dives. Her words spilling out about fractured homes and mended hearts. But the ghost of Evelyn lingered. A shadow in quiet moments. Scarlett's birthday came and went without a card. The date marked only by Sienna's homemade cake. Chocolate frosting smeared on their noses as they fed each other bites. That night, tangled in sheets, Scarlett confessed the ache. I keep waiting for her to see me. Really see me. Sienna held her closer. Fingers threading through Scarlett's auburn waves. Give it time, love. Or don't. You're whole without her. Summer brought heat waves and road trips. The two of them piling into Sienna's Honda for a pilgrimage west. Chasing horizons across Kentucky bluegrass and into the sprawl of St. Louis. They camped by the Mississippi. Fireflies dancing like errant stars. Sienna's head on Scarlett's lap as they talked about futures, teaching gigs for Sienna. Maybe a little bookstore for Scarlett. Shelves groaning with queer voices and forgotten Southern tales. The river murmured approvals. Wide and unyielding. Much like the love they'd carved from ruins. Back in Nashville. Autumn deepened. And with it? A job offer for Scarlett at an independent bookshop in Printer's Alley. Shelving volumes on hidden histories. She thrived there. Recommending Carson McCullers to wide-eyed co-eds. Her confidence blooming like the murals on the alley walls. Sienna aced her thesis on intersectional feminism in Southern Lit. Her professors nodding approval at the fire in her words. Life felt like a patchwork quilt. Stitched from scraps of loss and joy. Warm against the chill of what-ifs. Yet one crisp November evening, as they strolled hand-in-hand through Centennial Park, the Parthenon glowing under sodium lights, Scarlett's phone buzzed with an unknown number. She ignored it at first. But it rang again. Insistent. Sienna squeezed her hand. Answer it. Might be nothing. Or everything. Scarlett's thumb hovered. Then swiped. Hello. The voice on the other end was frail. Edged with coughs. Scarlett. It's Grandma Ruth. Evelyn's mother. The one had baked pecan pies and told stories of moonshine runners in her youth. Scarlett's breath hitched. The world tilting. Grandma. How did you? Ruth's reply was soft. Laced with that Appalachian lilt. Your mama mentioned you at church. Said you were gone. But I knew better. Knew you'd find your way. They talked for an hour. Scarlett pacing the leaf-strewn path while Sienna watched from a bench. Worry etching her brow. Ruth invited her for Thanksgiving. Neutral ground at her farmhouse outside Franklin. No preaching. She promised. Just pie and talk. Scarlett hung up. Tears blurring the distant Athena statue. Sienna pulled her down beside her. Arms enveloping. You don't have to go. But if you do, I'm right there. The decision simmered for days. Scarlett's sleep fractured by dreams of slammed doors and unspoken apologies. Finally, she nodded over breakfast burritos. Let's try. For me. For us. Sienna kissed her knuckles. Eyes shining. Always. The drive to Franklin's rolling hills was a study in tension. Sienna's playlist of Nina Simone filling the car with soulful defiance. Ruth's farmhouse squatted amid corn stubble. Porch swing creaking in the wind. Evelyn wasn't there. Thank God. Just Ruth in her flower-dusted apron. pulling Scarlett into a hug that smelled of cinnamon and old regrets. Sienna hung back, offering a tentative smile as Ruth ushered them inside. Dinner was quiet revelations, Ruth's own hidden letters from a WAC sweetheart during the war, tucked in a cigar box under her bed. She never told Evelyn, she admitted, passing the mashed potatoes. Fear keeps us small, child. Scarlett's throat tightened, fork pausing midair. And love? Sienna reached under the table, her touch a lifeline. As dusk fell, Ruth walked them to the car, her hand on Scarlett's arm. Tell your mama I love her. And you? Always did. Scarlett nodded, words failing. And they drove back to Nashville under a sky pricked with stars, the weight lifting just a fraction. Winter settled in with snow flurries that dusted the city like confectioner's sugar. And Scarlett's world expanded. The bookshop promoted her to manager, her events drawing crowds for readings on resilience. Sienna landed an adjunct position at a local high school, her passion igniting classrooms full of skeptical teens. They hosted game nights with friends from the Queer Center, laughter echoing off exposed brick walls. But spring brought a letter, postmarked Nashville, Evelyn's careful script on the envelope. Scarlett stared at it for a week, propped on the mantel like a grenade. Sienna found her there one evening, curled on the couch with a glass of cheap Merlot. Read it, babe. Or burn it. Your call. Scarlett slit the seal with a butter knife, paper crinkling like dry leaves. The words were sparse, an olive branch wrapped in thorns. I've been praying, seeing things different since Ruth told me about her past. Come home, Scarlett. We can talk. No conditions. Scarlett's chest heaved. Asobi escaping. Sienna knelt before her, hands on knees. What do you feel? Angry. Hurt. Tired of waiting. But maybe. Just maybe. Scarlett's voice broke, and Sienna pulled her close, rocking gently as the city hummed beyond the window. They planned the visit for Memorial Day, a neutral Saturday in the backyard where Scarlett's childhood swing still hung from the pecan tree. The drive was shorter than memory, suburbs blurring past like old photographs. Evelyn waited on the porch, thinner than Scarlett remembered, her hair streaked more gray, eyes shadowed. Scarlett parked, engine ticking cool, and stepped out with Sienna a step behind. Evelyn rose, hands twisting in her apron. Scarlett. The name hung between them, fragile as spider silk. Scarlett nodded, throat dry. Mom. Sienna offered a hand. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Evelyn shook it briefly, gaze flicking away. They sat at the picnic table, iced tea sweating in mason jars, the air thick with unsaid sins. Evelyn spoke first, voice halting. I was wrong. The church. The fear. It blinded me. Scarlett's fingers laced with Sienna's under the table. Anchor steady. Why now? A pause. Evelyn's sigh long and ragged. Cancer. Stage 3. Wakes you up. Makes you see what matters. Scarlett's world narrowed, the swing creaking in the breeze like a metronome to her pulse. I'm sorry, Mom. For everything. No. Evelyn reached across, hand hovering before dropping. I'm the one who's sorry. For pushing you away. For not seeing your heart. Tears welled, tracing paths down weathered cheeks. Sienna squeezed Scarlett's hand. Silent support. The afternoon unfolded in fits and starts, stories tumbling out like spilled beads. Evelyn's own youth. A fleeting crush on a girl at the mill, buried under marriage and motherhood. Scarlett shared snippets of her life, the bookshop, the road trips, the way Sienna's voice could calm any storm. Laughter crept in. Tentative. Over burnt burgers and store-bought slaw. As sun dipped low, painting the yard in amber, Evelyn stood. Thank you for coming. Both of you. Scarlet rose. Heart a wild bird. Can we do this again? Evelyn nodded. A small smile cracking. I'd like that. The hug came unbidden. Evelyn's arms tentative around Scarlet's shoulders. The scent of lavender soap mingling with earth. Scarlet held on. Breath sinking. Years dissolving in that press of forgiveness. Sienna watched from the steps. Eyes soft. Driving back. Scarlet leaned against Sienna's shoulder at a red light. The city lights blurring. It's a start. Sienna kissed her hair. Yeah. And we've got time. Summer unfurled across the south like a fevered dream. Heat mirages dancing on asphalt as Scarlet and Sienna plotted their next chapter. Evelyn's diagnosis lingered like a bruise. Tender but healing. Their weekly calls evolving from stilted pauses to shared recipes and cautious questions about the bookshop. Scarlet found herself lingering over payphones at work. Receiver warm against her ear. Evelyn's voice gaining strength with each chemo session. How's that girl of yours? She'd ask. And Scarlet would smile. Describing Sienna's latest lesson plan on Baldwin. One sweltering July weekend. They loaded the Honda with coolers of sweet tea and drove north. Chasing cooler air to the Great Smoky Mountains. The winding roads hugged cliffsides thick with rhododendron blooms. Air crisp with pine and possibility. They hiked Klingman's Dome at dawn. Mist cloaking the valley below like a lover's veil. Scarlet's hand in Sienna's as they reached the observation tower. Up there. Whirled at their feet. Scarlet turned. Breath clouding in the chill. Marry me. See. Not legal yet. But ours. Sienna's eyes widened. Then softened. Tears catching the first light. Yes. God. Yes. They kissed atop the world. Rings promised and wildflowers tucked into braids. The forest whispering blessings. Back in Nashville. Life pulsed with purpose. Scarlet expanded the bookshop events. Hosting a queer-lit festival that drew lines around the block. Authors like Carmen Maria Machado signing amid rainbow banners. Sienna threw herself into summer school. Her students scribbling essays on identity that mirrored her own journey. Evenings found them on the fire escape. Fireflies winking as they planned a commitment ceremony. Simple under the oaks where it all began. Evelyn's treatments dragged into fall. Her farmhouse a revolving door of casseroles from church ladies had softened their stares. Scarlet visited alone at first. Sienna respecting the space. But one amber October day. She tagged along. Arms laden with apple cider donuts from a roadside stand. Evelyn met them at the door. Scarf wrapped around her bare head. Smile tentative. Come in. I've got pie. The kitchen table groaned under harvest bounty. Steam rising from pumpkin slices. Conversation flowed easier now. Evelyn asking about Sienna's family. Her voice curious rather than clipped. Raised in Memphis by a single dad. Mechanic with a soft spot for Motown. Sienna shared stories of vinyl nights in the garage. Tools laid aside for dances. Evelyn nodded. Fork pausing. Sounds like love. Real kind. As leaves turned the yard to flame. Evelyn reached for Scarlet's hand. I see it now. In you too. What I missed before. Scarlet's throat tightened. Words tumbling. We forgive you. Mom. Because holding grudges is heavier than any backpack I ever carried. Winter crept in with its quiet insistence. Snow blanketing Nashville in rare white hush. Sienna's adjunct gig turned permanent. Her classroom a sanctuary where shed paste-up photos of historical lesbians. Sparking debates that lit her up like Christmas. Scarlet's bookshop thrived. Holiday windows dressed in twinkling lights and tones of joy. They hosted Evelyn for their first joint Christmas. The farmhouse swapped for their walk-up. Tree strung with popcorn garlands and ornaments from smoky trinkets. Evelyn arrived bundled in wool. Cheeks flushed from the cold. Bearing a quilt shed pieced from Scarlet's childhood dresses. For your new home? Wherever that takes you. Scarlet unfolded it. Fabrics whispering memories, the blue polka dot from Easter plays. The green sundress from river picnics. Tears pricked. And she pulled Evelyn into the kitchen. Sienna stirring mulled wine at the stove. Thank you for seeing us. The ceremony planning heated up come spring. Invitations handwritten on recycled paper. Guests a mix of college friends, bookshop regulars, and Sienna's students turned allies. They chose a meadow outside Chattanooga. Wildflowers nodding in breeze off the Tennessee River. Officiant a Unitarian minister with a drawl as warm as bourbon. Evelyn sat front row. Quilt draped over her knees. Eyes bright despite the fatigue. Vows exchanged under a willow arch. Scarlett's voice steady, you were my horizon when home turned to storm. Sienna. Tears tracing, and you. My anchor in every tide. Ring slid on. Simple silver bands etched with intertwined roots. And the kiss sealed it. Cheers rising like birds from the grass. Reception sprawled picnic style. Jars of fireflies released at dusk. Evelyn toasting with sparkling cider. To family. Found and forged. Scarlett hugged her tight. The quilt soft between them. Years folding into this moment of grace. Post-honeymoon haze carried them into summer again. A road trip east to the Atlantic. Beaches in the Carolinas stretching endless under July sun. They walked barefoot at dawn. Waves lapping secrets. Sienna's braids salty. Scarlett's freckles blooming. Talk turned to babies. Adoption dreams murmured over clam chowder in Charleston cafes. Evelyn called midway. Voice stronger. Thinking of you two starting your own branch. I'd be honored to help. Fall brought changes. Sienna's pregnancy scare turned to joy when adoption papers cleared for a toddler from Atlanta foster care. Little Maya with curls like Sienna's and eyes wide as Scarlett's stories. Evelyn babysat first time in November. Her farmhouse alive with toys and laughter. Chemo a distant memory in remission scans. She bounced Maya on knee. Singing lullabies shed once crooned to Scarlett. The circle bending but not breaking. Nashville's holidays glittered. Bookshop readings by lamplight. Sienna reading bedtime tales to Maya while Scarlett tucked in the quilt. One eve. Snow dusting the window. Evelyn joined for cocoa. Her hand on Scarlett's. Proud of you, daughter. For loving loud. But cracks showed in the new year. Evelyn's cough returning sharper. Tests confirming recurrence. Scarlett drove her to appointments in Memphis. Sienna minding Maya. The oncology waiting room a limbo of magazines and hushed fears. Evelyn gripped Scarlett's hand during scans. Whatever comes. No, I chose you back. Spring bloomed defiant. Dogwoods pink against gray skies. Scarlett organized a benefit reading at the shop. Proceeds to cancer research. Sienna emceeing with fire. Evelyn attended. Wig askew. Clapping till palms pink. Afterward. In the alley. She pulled Scarlett aside. If I go first? Scatter me by the river. With your dad's old fishing spot. Scarlett nodded. Tears hot. You're not going anywhere. Yet summer solstice brought the call. Evelyn slipping quiet in her sleep. Quilt pulled to chin. Scarlett flew home alone. Sienna holding fort with Maya. The farmhouse empty save Ruth's pie on the counter. Funeral was small. Church pews half full of softened faces. Eulogy Scarlett's words on forgiveness as rebellion. Graveside. Under pecan shade. Scarlett knelt. Soil cool under fingers. I love you, Mom. Always did. Sienna arrived later with Maya in arms. Joining the huddle. Their family a tapestry rewoven. Healing came in waves. Autumn leaves carpeting paths as Scarlett walked Maya to preschool. Sienna's hand in hers. The bookshop hosted a memorial shelf. Evelyn's favorite Bible beside Lord. Bridge Eternal. Winter's Eve. Fire crackling. Maya asleep upstairs. Scarlett and Sienna curled on couch. Remember that first night? Sienna murmured. Laundromat hum. Scarlett smiled. Tracing her ring. Best decision. Life cycled on. Maya toddling into sentences. Scarlett's readings drawing crowds cross-state. One mild March day. Package arrived, Ruth's cigar box. Letters yellowed. Scarlett read aloud to Sienna. Voices of hidden loves echoing their own. Summer again? Road trip north to Chicago. Maya's first big city. Bean-shaped skyline gleaming. They stood atop. Wind whipping. Scarlett hugging Sienna fierce. We're infinite. Sienna laughed. Maya giggling between. Damn right. Years layered like sedimentary rock. Nashville fading in rearview as opportunities pulled them west. Sienna's master's led to a PhD program at UCLA. Film studies with a queer lens. Her thesis on lesbian narratives in Hollywood underdogs. Scarlett sold the bookshop to a young couple who'd attended her events. Proceeds seeding their California dream, a hybrid cafe library in Silver Lake. Shelves mingling scripts and novels. The move came in a whirlwind of U-Haul and goodbyes. Maya wide-eyed at 4. Clutching her quilt scrap. Evelyn's absence ached fresh. But Ruth stayed on. Farmhouse guardian. Video calls her lifeline to Maya's chatter. West Coast welcomed with palm sway and ocean roar. Their bungalow perched on a hill. Bougainvillea climbing trellises. Scarlett's Cafe. Named Roots and Reels. Buzzed from day one. Morning brews for screenwriters. Evening salons for poets. Sienna lectured at extension classes. Her braids now threaded silver. Voice commanding lecture halls. Maya thrived in bilingual preschool. Her curls bouncing as she painted murals of families in every shade. Weekends meant Griffith Park hikes. Observatory stars mapping futures. Scarlett proposed expanding. Maybe a podcast on untold stories. Sienna dreamed of directing shorts. Camera in hand capturing Maya's wonder. Love deepened in mundane magic, Sienna's curry nights. Scarlett's bedtime inventions. Maya's hugs bridging generations. Ruth's health waned by their first anniversary in LA. Arthritis snarling hands that once pieced quilts. Scarlett flew east quarterly. Sienna holding video story time. One harvest moon visit. Ruth gifted a locket with Evelyn's photo. Scarlett's tiny beside. For the chain that binds. Back west. Winter's mild but lonely. Scarlett sponsoring a queer youth group at the cafe. Teens sharing coming out tales that mirrored her youth. One boy. Eyes downcast. Confessed family rejection. Scarlett slid him Lord. Read this. ITLL save you. Like it saved me. Spring brought Sienna's short film premiere. A vignette of two women reconciling across decades. Echoes of their story veiled in fiction. Scarlett teared up in the dim theater. Maya whispering. Is that you? Mama. Sienna squeezed her knee. Our ghost. Summer road trip north to San Francisco. Alcatraz tours twisting histories of confinement. Then wine country picnics where Maya chased butterflies. Evenings on Napa porches. Scarlett and Sienna swaying to jazz. Rings glinting. What's next? Sienna asked. Head on shoulder. Scarlett smiled. Whatever storm we weather. Fall semester ramped. Sienna's dissertation devouring nights. Scarlett managing solo with Maya's school plays. One rainy October eve. Cafe closing. A woman entered. Coat dripping. Face familiar in faded lines. Evelyn's cousin Lila. From church days. Eyes soft. Heard about your place. Thought IDC. They talked over cooling lattes. Lila admitting she'd softened too. Attended a pride march after Evelyn's letters. Proud of you. Scarlett. She was. Till the end. Scarlett's chest warmed. Hugging her at door. Tell the ghosts hi. Winter holidays. They flew east. Maya meeting Ruth stories live. Farmhouse alive with lights. Ruth. Frail and rocker. Read from her WAC letters. Maya rapped. Bedtime. Scarlett tucked her in. Grandma's brave. Like you. New Year dawned with Sienna's defense. Panel nodding to her brilliance. Celebration at cafe. Toasts to horizons. Scarlett whispered later. In sheets tangled. You're my director. Spring bloomed with Maya's kindergarten graduation. Tiny Cap Askew. Scarlett filming through tears. Sienna knelt, whispering encouragements. Afterward. Park picnic. Family sprawled on blankets. Summer heat pressed. But they escaped to Big Sur. Cliffs dropping to sea foam. Hikes along trails. Maya collecting shells. Scarlett and Sienna stealing kisses behind boulders. One dusk. Fire on beach. Sienna pulled a velvet box. Renewal rings. Etched with waves. For the tides we've crossed. Fall brought tenure track whispers for Sienna. UCLA courting. Scarlet-eyed expansions. Pop-up events in the desert. Maya started piano. Fingers plinking southern hymns with Cali flair. Winter's Eve. Cafe storytelling night. Scarlett on stage sharing her kicked-out tale. Crowd hushed then applauding thunder. Sienna in front row. Eyes proud. Backstage. Hug fierce. Your poetry. Ruth's passing came gentle in March. Spring equinox. Scarlett at bedside holding hand. Funeral blended traditions, hymns and Lord readings. Maya scattering petals. Back west. They planted a dogwood in yard. Pink promise. Healing in layers. Summer road trip to Grand Canyon. Vastness humbling. Maya peered over rims. Odd. Mamas. How deep? Scarlett laughed. Deeper than regrets. Fall classes. Sienna's film grant awarded. Shooting in Joshua Tree. Scarlett crude weekends. Maya extra in desert scenes. Evenings under stars. Stories spun. Winter solstice. Cafe Yule log event. Faces glowing. Scarlett proposed family expansion, foster sibling for Maya. Sienna nodded. Tears. Yes. Spring fostered a boy. Jamal. Ate with quiet eyes. Integrating slow. Maya bossed gently. Scarlett cooked soul food nods. Sienna read adventure tales. Summer camp for kids. Parents free for Monterey drives. Seals barking. Wine loosening tongues. Sienna confessed fears of legacy. Scarlett soothed. We're writing ours. Fall harvest. Cafe pumpkin fest. Jamal carving grins. Sienna directed PSA on family acceptance. Scarlett narrated. Winter's first snow in mountains. Cabin retreat. Kids sledding. Parents cocoa mulled. Scarlett hugged Sienna by fire. Infinite. Years turned. Maya teen with braces and activism. Jamal scholarship bound. Cafe franchised small. Sienna's prof. Films festival bound. One autumn reunion. Nashville pull. Old Oaks witness. Scarlett stood porch. Ghosts friendly. Sienna beside. Hand laced. Full circle. Decades etched fine lines. Silver threading Scarlett's auburn to frost. Sienna's braids fully crowned. Maya. Now 25. Graduated Yale with lit degree. Her thesis on Southern queer resilience dedicated to the grandmas shed never met but felt in quilts. Jamal. 22. Engineered bridges in Seattle. Weekend calls full of blueprints and boyfriends. The bungalow sagged under ivy. Cafe evolved to nonprofit hub. Funding youth shelters. Sienna's chair at UCLA drew protégés. Her memoir in galleys, loving loud. Scarlett guest lectured. Voice season with lived truth. One crisp Pacific November. Invitation arrived, high school reunion in Nashville. Sienna's alma mater. She balked. Ghosts. Scarlett tempted. Closure. They flew east. Kids converging, Maya from New York editing zines. Jamal from coast. Hotel overlooked Cumberland. Lights winking. Reunion hall buzzed awkward. Nama tags peeling. Sienna spotted her first, Mrs. Hargrove. Lit teacherhood outed her crush to principal. Whispers fueling home fires. Now retired. Cane tapped. Eyes milky. Sienna approached. Scarlett flanking. Mrs. Esh. Remember me. Sienna Hayes. The teacher's brow furrowed. Then cleared. The troublemaker. Sienna smiled. Steel wrapped soft. The one you tried to break. Paused. But look. Married. Kids. Thriving. Hargrove shifted. King clicking. Wasn't personal. Policy. Sienna leaned in. It was. To me. But I forgive. Because hate shrinks you. Scarlett added quiet. And love expands. They walked away. Air lighter. To bar for whiskeys. Maya joined. Toasting. Mama's legends. Jamal grinned. Bridge builders. Next day. Pilgrimage to Evelyn's grave. River nearby murmuring. Scarlett knelt. Weeding wildflowers. Miss you. But we made it. Sienna placed stones. Jewish nod from Jamal's side. Maya read poem. Words weaving lost to light. Jamal silent prayer. Afternoon. Ruth's farmhouse sold but porch swing salvaged. Installed in City Park. They sat there at dusk. Creak familiar. Stories looping. Scarlett sighed long. Full. Isn't it? Sienna nodded. Head on shoulder. Overflowing. Back west. Holidays blended, Kwanzaa candles with menorah flickers. Tree under which gifts piled. Memoir launch packed cafe. Sienna reading kicked out chapter. Scarlett and audience tearing up. Signing line. A teen whispered. Saved me. Sienna hugged. That's the point. Spring renewal. Maya announced engagement to artist in Brooklyn. Wedding Hudson Valley. Scarlett planned bookstore pop-up there. Sienna scripting vows. Jamal proposed too. Civil engineer to poet. Seattle rain their backdrop. Summer weddings double, Maya's under tents. Wildflowers nodding to Chattanooga echoes. Scarlett walked her. Sienna's arm Jamal for his. Toasts echoed forgiveness themes. Circles widened. Fall semester. Sienna's sabbatical for documentary on rejection survivors. Scarlett producing. Interviews raw. Faces like young selves. Winter quiet. Bungalow firelit. Kids visited with partners. Talk turned legacies, scholarships in Evelyn's name. Youth Center wing for Ruth. One mild eve. Cafe closing. Scarlett locked doors. Sienna waiting on bench. Walk. They strolled Silver Lake paths. Palms rustling. Memories surfacing. That first kiss. Sienna murmured. Porch swing. Scarlett laughed soft. Worth every slam. At water edge. Sunset bleeding orange. Scarlett pulled her close. 30 years. Sienna breathed. And counting. Foreheads touched. Breaths mingling. Love distilled to essence. Years later still. Gray full. Cafe past immense. Sienna's films archived. Grandkids toddling, Maya's twins with curls. Jamal's boy with quiet gaze. Bungalow gardenia scented. Swing from farmhouse creaking on porch. One golden autumn. Health faltered for Sienna. Heart murmur demanding rest. Scarlett nursed with teas and tales. Grandkids piling laps. Sienna whispered one dawn. Sun slanting. Best plot. Scarlett kissed palm. Our ending open. But life scripted gentle fade. Sienna slipping in sleep. Scarlett holding hand. Quilt draped. Funeral beachside. Ashes to waves. Maya reading vows renewed. Scarlett stood after. Wind salting tears. Infinite. Alone not. Family orbiting, kids calls. Grandbabies hugs. Cafe events she hosted. Stories of Sienna lighting rooms. One spring. Nashville pull again. Book tour stop. Old bookshop. Now cafe 2. Owners welcoming. Reading kicked out tail. Crowd wrapped. A woman front row, Evelyn's old friend. Eyes wet. Your mama's proud. After. Park stroll. Parthenon distant. Scarlett sat bench. Phone out. Dialed Ruth's number. Now Maya's. Told her. Full circle. Summer road trip solo. Smokey's calling. Klingman's missed. At Dome. Wind fierce. Scarlett scattered petals for Sienna. Your horizon. Fall harvest. Grandkids piecing quilt scraps. Fabrics from lifetimes. Scarlett taught stitches. Stories threading. Winter solstice. Fire circle beach. Family gathered. Maya lit candle. To love's that hug back. Scarlett smiled. Arms open. Hugging still. Years wove on. Scarlett 92. Bungalow Museum piece. Tours of queer history. One eve. Porch swing. Grandkid on knee. Tell the kicked out story. Gigi. Scarlett began. Voice steady. Once. A girl loved fierce. Fade to hush. Stars pricking. Legacy breathing. Human. Raw. Redeemed.